Okay, we are live for the Culver's postgame show. Culver's welcome to Delicious. He is former Alabama defensive back Will Lowery. I am Ryan Brown. It was an incredibly wild game in Knoxville, Tennessee. Those of you watching us that are Alabama fans, obviously did not like the ending. Will, I don't even know where to start with that game. There was so much that went on in that game, but just really insanity, to be honest with you.
Yeah, a lot to digest there. Still kind of taking it in here. Unbelievable game. Candidly, I'm just happy to see the third Saturday have resonating as a big event again. It kind of become a foregone conclusion for a lot of recent years what was going to happen. And all credit to Tennessee and Heupel. I mean, man, they got a good team. That offense is really potent. They've got some real weapons and know how to move the chains, put points on the board, and take advantage of opportunity and capitalize when they have the chance. So all credit to them, man. That was a really fun game to watch, despite how frustrating parts of it were for Alabama. I just can't get my head around all the penalties. Coach Saban is he's kind of a man of ways and principle and just seeing the way that the team's discipline and tendency just to have so many unforced errors now is I just struggle to understand where and how that has come to kind of manifest itself within the program, and hopefully they can turn it around. That's kind of the upside here is that with the playoff, we had there was the 2012 10-year reunion there last weekend, and it had me thinking about the BCS era, and with the college football playoff, you can still get in with a game like this, so they still got everything to play for. But they got a lot of improvements to do and a lot of cleaning up to do if they want to have a shot. Because there's certainly a lot of glaring weaknesses and gaps in the team right now.
All right, well, let's talk about the penalties. You brought it up: 17 penalties, 130 yards. That's the school record. It's the same thing that happened to Alabama and Austin. They were able to escape it against Texas with all those penalties, but 17 penalties. I mean, 130 yards when Tennessee's already as good as they are at moving the football, and you give them another field and a half, basically, in penalty yardage.
Yeah, this is this team seems to play down to their competition to some degree, even dating back to the Auburn game of last year. With a lot of the same leaders and a lot of the same core group of the team. For whatever reason, they seem to kind of acclimate. Unfortunately, number 9 is just unbelievable, and usually makes the extra play to get there. And can't he made it tonight, honestly, and unfortunately weren't able to get the kick to go in there at the end. Feel slightly as being a little bit of superstitious myself. Feel a little bit responsible. I tweeted about Culver boy last weekend at halftime, and then he proceeded to miss 2 kicks. And look, I'm no stranger to miss kicks, as you're not kind of kicking around, unfortunately, in my time. And man, kicking is a funky aspect of the sport. It's kind of just totally separate from the rest of the game of blocking and tackling and everything else that goes into football. You got kickers who just do one thing. And no one can comprehend the pressure that those guys have on their shoulders when they get called on a couple times a year, really, if any, to go win a game. Certainly in front of 100,000 people like that, nobody can comprehend the pressure that those guys are under. So that's not to blame Reichert at all. It was a long kick. He's on the road. But the offense did put us in a position to win it there. So it's tough to see. But, back to the penalties, I mean, it's just very uncharacteristic. Again, I think that Saban has come a long way in his ability to kind of appreciate things just as he's progressed in age in his career, kind of becoming a little bit softer. And I think it's necessary, too, with the players of the game today and the guys he's recruiting. You can't just – I don't know, the style that he was when I was there, I don't know if it would be as effective, and I certainly know it would lead to at least a few more transfers a year, if he stayed that way. So it's been fun to see him kind of soak in the enjoyment of certain aspects of what he's doing. But at the same time, things happen every Saturday now with Alabama that, if they happened in practice or in a walkthrough when I was there, I mean, there was hats flying, you were getting fired, and it's just crazy to see kind of how it's happening. Again, I'm not there. There's a lot of factors involved. The game's changed a lot, but it's still all relative, right? And we're making more mistakes, unforced errors, and penalties than any other team we're playing right now or in the country, really.
It is the Culver's post-game show. Culver's welcome to Delicious, two great locations. Tattersall Park off 280, 119. You can also find him Stadium Trace there in Hoover. He is Will Lowery, the former Alabama defensive back, joining us. Next Round Cocktails also brings you the show tonight. DrinkNextRound.com, DrinkNextRound.com. Their Rosé Sangria and their Salted Lime Margarita, among the great flavors they have. DrinkNextRound.com. Also, don't forget the Next Round store. You see it above us right there. Use code Jim, Lance, Brown, or Rockstar at checkout. And it is buy one, get one half off there at Next Round Store the entire weekend when you use those codes. Don't forget, if you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, like the video, and make sure you've subscribed and set your alerts. If you're watching us on Twitter, fire off a retweet. Listen, man, you got to face this at some point. So maybe this is therapeutic to some people to talk this through. And also give us a thumbs up there on Twitter. Share us on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up there as well. And like us on Twitch. Will Lowery, when you see a guy like Jalen Hyatt, 6 catches, 207 yards. He had an average catch of 34.5 today, 5 touchdowns. It just seemed like Heupel was able to dictate the matchups on him. They got him so often on a safety, and that's a credit to Josh Heupel, obviously. But how did you expect Alabama to adjust a little bit there and find a way to get a safety off of him and maybe get a guy that's a little better in coverage on him?
You would think so. Having the quarterback that they have, there's 2 factors that I see in Tennessee that really makes them difficult for Alabama. You've got the dual threat quarterback, which has been kind of the Achilles heel for Saban for a long time. When you have that threat, it totally changes all the different kind of back end details. The kind of front end of the schemes and everything don't necessarily change in terms of kind of what you're trying to accomplish, who you're guarding, how many blitzing, how many guys you got in the box, whatever. But when you have to have somebody at all times accounting for spying the quarterback and staying right there in the center of the field, just shadowing the line to make sure that he can't escape and break the pocket, it totally changes kind of the help coverage that you get and the leverage that you're playing and kind of where you're shifting around the extra man on the back end. And you saw a number of times today. I mean, the guys getting hit right there, kind of just behind that linebacker level. And I think that had a lot to do with it. And again, like you say, it's credit to Heupel. I mean, he did a great job of getting them in the matchups they wanted to be in and getting guys open. So you had that happening. And then when you also compound that with another factor that's always proved challenging, the hurry up, when you're just constantly rushing guys to the line. And I know that, again, the game has changed. They're allowing substitutions and everything, but that does not change the fact that you've got to react just at lightning speed, play after play. And the amount of pre-snap reads, I think, and digestion of what's going on and the ability to immediately react that you have to do and at the college level period, but also in Coach Saban's schemes, I think would honestly kind of befuddle some people. I mean, there is so much going on before the snap. And now with the hurry up offenses, when that you throw that into the mix, I really can't imagine. I'm sure they've simplified it to kind of offset that a little bit, but I think that those 2 factors probably played a huge part tonight in seeing the success that Tennessee was able to have and putting up 50 points like this. Those have always been 2 really challenging things, and Tennessee does both of them really well. Again, all credit to him, man. I expected it to be a tough game. I thought if Bryce was able to play, that we ought to win, and we should have. Again, I mean, when you look at the penalties and kind of the mistakes that we made, it's kind of hard to stomach. But we've been here plenty of times before. There's been very few teams at Alabama that have gone undefeated and run the table. What is it? 2 of them, I think, in the Saban era that have done it, 2009 and 20, right? That undefeated and won it all. So every team otherwise has kind of had a setback that's gone all the way. And this team's absolutely got the pieces. They've got unbelievable talent in quarterback and running back positions, which are 2 of the most critical with offense being as important as it is. Gibbs, man, he continues to raise my eyebrows, all the time. I mean, it's every game I watch, man, he just does so many things so well. His quickness and, Gary honestly pointed out his feet are just ridiculous. I mean, some of the cuts he makes, and it makes it look so effortless the way that he's able to get past guys and get to the second level of the defense and really move the chains a lot. Dynamic playmaker at that position. Bryce, again, I mean, one is the best that we've ever had at quarterback. I mean, that guy is an absolute dynamo back there. Keeps plays alive way longer than they have any business being alive and is able to find guys and put the ball on them. So, I think we've lacked at wide receiver this year a little bit. I've been looking for guys to kind of step up. Certainly thought Ja'Cory Brooks had a big game. Latu obviously came out and put up a lot of yards and had a lot of grabs. So starting to see some guys emerge on the outside. But so they've got the pieces, and this defense makes plays at times. They gave up a lot of points tonight. That was a really good offense. Again, I mean, in today's day and age, it's not realistic to go win 9-6 and stuff like we did 10 years ago when I was there. You've got some really dynamic offenses in the game. The rules have changed. So we're going to give up points. Tonight was certainly a rough one. And we've got to adjust and realize, especially when we go on the road, it seems like, and when we play some of these teams, we can't just immediately stoop to their level. We've got to come out and establish that Alabama brand and that level of play up front and play to our ability, because we've got really good players at a lot of positions. So again, the pieces are there, but it's not like it's game 2 here. We're pretty thick into the season here. So if they're going to make a run at it, they're going to have to shape it up in a hurry and get in the film room and figure out some things quickly.
Yep. All right. Well, hang with us right here. Dunaway is in the stadium there. You can see the gates behind him. They have stormed the field and celebrating. Jim, just give us your observations from Neyland Stadium there.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'll tell you the kick six, right when they made it to the end zone and the fans at Auburn started storming the field, I was, quickly outside on a TV set, so I've never been in the middle of a field rush like that. And let me tell you, it's a pretty scary scene if you're not doing the rushing. Like I was really near where the Alabama players were leaving the field, and it's just a lot of chaos down there. And right now you can't see it, but the $1 Million Band is still at the other end of the field, surrounded by police. And there was some concern about getting some more Alabama personnel back here behind the gate. The kind of stuff that happens when these field rushes happen seems to happen to Alabama more than it does anyone else in the SEC. But Will nailed it right there. I was talking to Barry Jones at halftime, who was filling in for JPW, and it seemed to be that every deep target for Alabama today was either at Helms or Terry and Arnold, who didn't have help over the top. Hooker would read it at the line. If they didn't have help over the top, Will, you can explain that to me, but that's sort of what Barrett saw in the first half, and obviously with what Hyatt was able to do with a school record touchdowns, that was something that was working that Josh Heupel saw on tape, thought they had a good matchup and made it work throughout the entire game.
Yeah, it's just, again, really tough when you have a running quarterback. It kind of changes your extra man. The one free or whatever when you're rushing 5 and you got 5 covering, and then you got the extra man there, your squeeze guy, your help guy. A lot of that gets kind of adjusted around and shifted around, and Two had a little bit of a tough game. He got beat a few times, and there were some double moves out there. And again, I don't want to take anything away from Heupel. I mean, they did a great job of scheming some things up, stacking receivers, confusing a lot of pre-snap motion. So it was almost like they kind of did everything. I don't think it was necessarily any one thing. I think that they had a really good game plan, and I think that they attacked us in certain areas and were able to get us in the matchups they needed to get in. And they've got the ability at certain positions, and certainly with a couple key personnel to go capitalize on it. And that's what we saw tonight. And, Helms is a heck of a player. I love watching him come up and thump guys at the line of scrimmage. But we are seeing him, get beat a little bit in coverage. And I think we'll see some adjustments on the back end going forward to try and combat some of that.
Thing, Brown, before I leave, because I know I'm buffering and I got to go find the 42 camera. It's out there somewhere. But it's one of those losses that Alabama's just going to kick themselves. And I was down here on the field and obviously followed the interception to the other end of the field. I didn't see the pass interference. What was that call like, in y'all's opinion? Because down here, I didn't see the flag initially.
Well, it was a wrap, Will. I mean, Will, you played the position, but Malachi Moore clearly wrapped him. I think in the college game, wrapping is okay, wrapping and turning is not. I didn't see a whole lot of turn there, but he wrapped him and kind of swiped. Is that what you saw, Will?
Yeah, being impartial here, I thought it was a flag. I did. He kind of had him bear hugged, and was affecting the play, in my opinion. And look, I'm usually gonna kind of lean if it's neutral, tie goes to the defense. If it's me, I did think it was a flag. I actually had some debate in one of my family text threads on that end. But look, at the same time too, They missed a big one on Alabama earlier on the long third down as well. I forget who it was, but I mean, they ripped the face mask off, so that's football, I mean, you're going to get flags. You're going to not get flags. The call's going to go your way. It's not going to go your way. And I really don't think you can argue either way on that one. It wasn't a phantom call miss, again, I thought it was a flag, but it could have gone either way, but I don't think you can hang your hat on the game hinged on that. Again, 17 penalties, 50 points, that didn't come down to one make or break play. I did think it was a flag, but again, I don't think you can't hang your hat on that being the game there.
And I agree with you. You can't look at one play in a game like this. All right, I'm going to dash and do some TV here, but I just wanted to give you a look at still the scene here and what's going on. As they said back at Auburn, they're not going to keep them off the field tonight.
They did not. You knew that was coming. All right, thank you, Jim. Have a good show there on TV. Yep, Dunaway headed out to do a little TV. It is the Culver's post-game show. Welcome to Delicious. We are live with Will Lowery, the former Alabama defensive back. Culver's Highway 119, 280 in Tattersall Park. You can also find him in Stadium Trace, just off 459 out near the Hoover Met. Also, Next Round Cocktails, drinknextround.com. drinknextround.com. Don't forget the Next Round store. Code Jim, Lance Brown, or Rockstar at checkout. And you can buy one, get one half off there. Buy one, get one half off at checkout with code Jim, Lance Brown, or Rockstar. And also make sure you give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already. Set your alerts so you know when we're live. Retweet us, give us a like there, and share us on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up there and on Twitch. I just, it's so weird, Will, the way these penalties follow Alabama on the road. It doesn't seem to be a huge problem at home. I kind of get the motion penalties. You're playing in loud environments. You've done it in the Southeastern Conference. They're loud crowds. So you're going to have some illegal procedures and things like that. The pass interference and the holds and things like that, it just seems like they compound on the road with Alabama. It's so strange.
Yeah, the pass interference, is a tough call. And again, if this is game 1 or 2 and we got guys, like Kool-Aid or whoever that don't have a ton of experience that are making them, I can understand them a little bit better. But, we're still, it seems like it comes that point on the field as a DB when the ball's in the air, certainly when you're far down the field where a little bit of a level of panic sets in if you are not experienced and you're just going to grab and reach the guy. And it seems like some of our guys are still doing that, and Saban is the best secondary teacher there is. He does a very good job of teaching how to turn and look for the ball and play your man and kind of work through that dynamic. But it seems like we're still doing that, still just grabbing and holding a little bit too often. But honestly, it's not those penalties that kill me. The holdings are frustrating. Again, those are a little bit kind of, judgment calls to some degree, and you could almost call it every play if you want to, and whatever. It's Alabama. You're going to get, the not benefit of the doubt more than often, certainly on the road. But it's the penalties, honestly. And I don't know how many we had tonight, but certainly last weekend, it's the after the whistle personal fouls, and the talking and the taunting and stuff like that. You just didn't see that 10 years ago. And now, again, I don't know if it's just because you've got to kind of give guys a little bit more room to be their own personality in the game it is today. But man, it's just tough to watch. Those are the ones that really kind of eat me up. The after the play stuff and also the delay of games, stuff like that. I mean, like you say, when you're on the road and it's 100,000 people that game day and it's the biggest game, for Tennessee in however many decades probably in that stadium, it's going to be loud and you're going to get some procedure stuff. But the delay of games, not getting lined up, too many guys on the field, hitting after the play, stuff like that. Just I can't get it. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around for a Nick Saban Alabama team.
Yeah, I thought it was wild that I guess early on, I think it was in the first possession Tennessee had, Alabama tried to substitute when Tennessee didn't. They got the 12 men. I don't think they tried it again after that. I don't know if Golding was going to see if it worked one time, if they could pull it off and keep doing it if they did. But that you mentioned the hurry up with Tennessee, and that's the biggest thing is they're kind of able to dictate Alabama's personnel there. That the cheetah package with Alabama they really didn't even get into that tonight because you just couldn't change personnel. That offense goes too fast for Tennessee.
Yeah, it's really tough when you go fast as an offense. It makes a lot of things difficult. So I'm honestly surprised that we don't see more of it. We certainly see some of it, but and Tennessee does it really well. I mean, they clearly, that's something that they practice year round. That's something that they're doing in the off season. They got plays. I mean, they're very, very efficient at that hurry up, and it's effective. That he's got a great system down with that. And it's going to be interesting to see what Tennessee does from here, because they got some real pieces. I mean, they've got some real players and some real ability, and they seem to have something special going. Which is selfishly kind of a little bit disappointing to see. I hate Tennessee, but when Coach Pruitt was there, who's a guy that I'm very close with, it was kind of like, well, I hope he does well, and he's the guy to help get it turned around. So it's kind of strange to see Heupel doing it, but they seem to got it, man, and it's going to be interesting. I got some family that are from Tennessee and that are huge Tennessee fans, and a cousin that went to Tennessee, stuff like that. So that's like the one. We have no Auburn in the family. We got no LSU in the family. We got a little bit of Tennessee in the family, and it's been a long time since this game has meant something. So it's going to be interesting going forward. I was just laughing. I just threw my cigar away, and I was laughing. I've never done that before. Last time Alabama lost to Tennessee, I was like 15 years old.
That's right.
It was a weird feeling. I was like, wait, what do I do with this thing if we don't win? I don't even know what to do with this. So, we'll see, man. But like I say, I honestly enjoy, as much as I don't like Tennessee and Auburn and LSU and Georgia, I like when our rivals win, so that when we play them, it's a game like this. It's a big game. It's a big atmosphere. It means a lot. It has implications on the SEC championship and the national title. So, this was a tough loss, but just like the A&M game this year was supposed to be a big one until A&M got beat a couple times, but man, the Tennessee game next year in Bryant-Denny is going to be unbelievable. I mean, yeah. I love big games, big atmospheres. It's kind of Saban has built such a dominant program that, 80-90% of Alabama's season almost was a wash. The game's over by halftime. It's hard to keep fans there. It's hard as the guys calling the games play-by-play and the color guys. I mean, you watch the second half of the Vanderbilt game, and, man, those guys are struggling for things to talk about, So that's like 80% of Alabama's season for the last 15 years. So when games are big and mean something, it's more exciting. And certainly when the rivalry games are big like this, it just adds a whole nother level to everything. So if nothing else, that's at least one good takeaway. And also, this day was coming. Alabama has shown a lot of cracks this year. They've shown a lot of weaknesses. They've shown a lot of areas that they need to improve. And a lot of times when you win, you can kind of gloss that over and just kind of, oh, well, yeah, but we still won, and yeah, but we still got it done. We can still get over the hump when we have to, and, you kind of know eventually it's going to bite you in the butt, and it did tonight, So hopefully this was a wake-up call for the guys that if they want to accomplish the goals that they set out to accomplish this year, which is to go win the whole thing, man. Let's make no bones about it. I mean, at Alabama now, it's national championship or nothing. That's the mission. Candidly, that's been the mission since 2008. I mean, when we lost to Tim Tebow in Florida in the SEC championship in 2008, the win came out of the sails. That's when we got rocked by Utah in the Sugar Bowl because everybody kind of lost the edge there because everybody was so focused on the national championship. It's been that way for the last 15 years. So make no mistake, that's the goal for this team. And again, they still got that in front of them, but they got a lot of work to do. And hopefully this was the wake-up call they needed to go really do a deep dive on who do we want to be, how good can we be, and how dedicated are we to figuring that out. And that goes to the staff too. I mean, I think that I'm not putting this all on the players. There's a lot of things that we could do better from the top down in this entire program, starting with the coaches. So, again, they gotta hurry though.
Yeah, former Alabama defensive back Will Lowery with us. Let's get to some comments here. KC asked on YouTube, why not run the ball at the end and force them to call timeouts? So you get the first down, and you've got 2 timeouts. Rice throws it out of bounds. And if I remember right, he's pressured, has to throw it away on second down. Then third down is the incomplete over the middle to Jermaine Burton, and you kick a 50-yarder. Would you have liked to have seen maybe a run mixed in there since you did have the timeouts, see what Gibbs might could do?
I hate armchair quarterback because, it's like the stock market. You can look up tomorrow and be like, oh, well, I should have bought that yesterday, and it's like, well, yeah, in retrospect,
should have, right.
It's clear, right? So, but if we're going to play that game, why are we trying to throw the ball? Because where we're at on the field right now is a long kick, right? Evidenced by the fact that he missed it. So you're trying to advance the ball down the field to get a more favorable distance of kicking the field goal, and you're gonna achieve that more feasibly by throwing it down the field, right? That one's it's tough, I mean, that's when I go, hey, Nick Saban makes what he make 10, 11, 12 million dollars a year. He makes that for a reason, and we all watch it on TV and comment about it on the internet for a reason. So,
your two best players on the field when Alabama has the ball are not really debatable. I mean, they are Bryce Young and they are Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't, there's really no debate about that. Nope. Who your two best players are. So you're going to put it in their hands there, and when the game is on the line, obviously. And Gibbs is so good out of the backfield. You can throw it to him. You don't have to run it to him. But I'm never, look, Bill O'Brien gets a ton of criticism. You know that, Will. I'm never going to question putting it in Bryce Young's hands. I mean, that's you saw it today. That's one of the best quarterback performances, maybe the best in Alabama history, even in a losing effort. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's like you say, you can't question putting the ball in Bryce's hands. And, to Bill O'Brien, I'll be honest. I mean, when Sarkisian left, I knew it was going to be a drop-off. I mean, Sarkisian was on a whole nother wavelength in 2020 of calling plays and at that OC. I mean, he was 3 steps ahead of every defensive coordinator in college football around him. I mean, he just whatever zone he was in, and whatever was getting him there, whatever, he was there, man. I mean, he was clicking. And the offense that year was something to witness. So I knew when he left it was going to be a step down. Didn't know, how much. And good buddy of mine, actually a former teammate, walk-on of mine, is from Houston. Obviously a big Texans guy, and does not have the highest opinion of Bill O'Brien. But man, it's tough. It's a tough job. It's easy to sit in those guys' shoes, but at the same time, you would think that we should be able to do more. Again, my thing this year has been the wide receivers. We've got a lot of talent and all over the roster, and just seem to have, for us to be this many games in the season and not have anybody emerge as kind of like a go-to guy on the outside. Again, Gibbs is probably our best receiver, and he's coming out of the field. And then you got Latu, who, maybe hasn't had the most consistent year thus far, but obviously had a great game today and has flashed ability in the past. But for whatever reason, we haven't had anybody really kind of step apart and step above on the outside, which is what I really want to see. I mean, that's what it's going to take for us to kind of keep moving on the offensive side of the ball. And really, what did we score, 49 tonight? Offense is the spot we need to be talking about. And again, Bryce is certainly man, you can say anything you want about that guy. I love watching him play. I've been really excited about him. I remember seeing the comment of his high school coach, who, I forget the names of all the legendary quarterbacks that came through. Where did he go? Mater Dei or where did he go?
Yeah. It's the one, I think that was Leinart came through there, if I'm not mistaken. There's several. I mean, it's
several really high profile guys at the collegiate and NFL level success that have come through there. And his high school coach said he was bar none the best one of all of them. And just spoke about his intangibles and everything else. So I really don't get into recruiting all that much. Candidly, I maybe that's personal because I wasn't highly recruited. I don't know. I kind of wait for guys to establish themselves when they get to Alabama. But I had heard about Bryce and had looked into him in high school and watched some of his tape, and reminded me a lot of Tua back then. His ability to see the field at all times in the backfield is a true talent. And his – man, the way he keeps plays alive, and not only that, but is able to find guys down the field and then put the ball on them is truly special. And we really need to enjoy it while we got it, because we only got a few more games with him. And I'm excited. Again, they got it all in front of them, and they got the players and Bryce. You've got to have the quarterback. And Tennessee, that's kind of evidence to me. I mean, that's my wife, Marla, was actually last weekend. She was like, she made a comment, when did Tennessee get good? And I was like, pretty recently, it's pretty quick. Yeah. I mean, when you get the guy under center that can distribute the ball around and throw it down the field, and you got talent on the outside that can go grab it, that's what's going to make you win games in college. That's the name of the game now. So we got that under center. We got Gibbs back there. We got some guys at wide receiver that look like they could potentially start stepping up into that role, but now's the time. It's now or never. It's time for this team to step up and become who they're going to be, or it could become a 2010 type year. Because we still got some tough games ahead of us the rest of this year.
So Will Lowery is with us, the former Alabama defensive back. It is the Culver's postgame. Culver's, welcome to Delicious, two great locations, Highway 119 and 280 right there in Tattersall Park. You can also find them Stadium Trace, more to come. Stadium Trace out there in Hoover, next to the Hoover Met, where Will used to play some football, and they will have more coming soon. Also, Next Round Cocktails, drinknextround.com. That is drinknextround.com. The Rosé Sangria, also the Salted Lime Margarita, fantastic. Drinknextround.com. Thanks to Next Round Cocktails and Culver's. Also, don't forget to go to nextround.store. Use code Jim, Lance, Brown, or Rockstar at checkout, and you get buy one get one half off. Buy one get one half off at nextround.store when you use those codes at checkout. And if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for the thumbs up. Go and give it to us if you haven't already. Also, make sure you subscribe, set alerts, retweet us on Twitter, give us a thumbs up there, like us on Facebook, share us there, and also on Twitch. A couple questions here. Let's get to a few questions. Trying to dig through them here. We've got a lot of them, as you might imagine. I wanted to go back to this one I saw because it was talking about the offensive line. Maybe I'll just have to paraphrase it. That Tennessee offensive line was really, really good, Will. There's two parts I want to ask you about. First of all, do you think their system, does it just kind of take the blitz away from you a little bit? It did not seem like Alabama pressured as much as they pressured in the past. Did I see that incorrectly? A lot of people are saying that in the chat.
I think so. It's hard to say this quickly after a game. I've got two little kids running around now, so it's all I can do to watch the game sometimes and actually see what's going on. So I don't get to watch it quite as in depth as I used to. Certainly not getting able to replay everything, but and again, it goes back to the running quarterback dynamic. When you've got a dual threat quarterback that has the ability on the feet to go scramble and move the chains without having to throw it, that's what changes your rush, and it becomes not about getting to the quarterback and getting sacks and getting pressure on him. It becomes containing. It becomes pressing the pocket in his face, keeping your rush lanes, and making him break the pocket, but keep contained and make him beat you from the pocket. That's the name of the game with a dual threat quarterback. And look, he's an unbelievably dynamic passer as well, and he did that tonight. I think we did make him beat us from the pocket for the majority of the game, and they're always going to get loose. No matter how many times, doesn't matter if you spy him every single play. Your spy man's going to get washed up or, get caught up or miss the tackle once or twice. And he's going to get loose a few times for scrambles. But for the most part, he did beat us from the pocket. And again, I do think that has a lot to do with the hurry up offense, as well as when you combine that with the dual threat quarterback ability, it just severely diminishes the weapons that you have as a defense to come after and attack an offense and try and put them in difficult situations. You're kind of more trying to just contain and adapt,
Yeah, and another thing with the way they run their offense, the receivers are split so wide. And I know Saban, historically, whether it be Pruitt or Smart or Golding, he likes to bring pressure out of the secondary. Do those wide splits minimize a little bit of what you can do there? Is it a little harder to disguise that, right, when your DBs are so far away from the quarterback?
Absolutely. That's another part of it. When you stretch the field like that, it's a lot harder to kind of muddy up and show different things in disguise. You've got to kind of spread out and get more true to what actual coverages you're playing and the man-to-man coverages you're in. I'm sitting here looking at the team stats from the game, and funny enough that we were within 2 total yards of each other. Alabama with 569 and Tennessee with 567. Wow. 52-49 on the points. Just incredibly gaudy offensive numbers. And then you go to the penalties. 17 for 130 yards on Alabama, 6 for 39 with Tennessee. And turnovers, Tennessee had 2. Alabama had 1. That's an interesting dynamic there to me. When you get a couple turnovers like that, you'd like to think that Alabama getting multiple turnovers in a game is going to bode well for us. Certainly that fumble, the scoop and score there at the end of the game,
huge,
gracious, it was a gift. I was like, well, that's probably going to be the difference in the game. When it's this close and you just gift somebody 6 like that, I thought that was it. But yeah, just very tough. Again, that's where I go back to. I'm more thinking like the longer term here with Tennessee than I am tonight. They have a really accomplished and successful offensive scheme working right now. What are they, 6-0 now? They're going to be in the top 5 next week. Who knows how and it's going to be interesting, man. Them and Georgia is going to be an interesting game because, Georgia has shown this year, they're same as Alabama, kind of a little bit of chinks in the armor and playing close with guys. And Stetson Bennett, all credit to him, obviously beat Alabama last year, but he ain't Herndon, he's not that dynamic back there under center. And again, that's kind of what drives the game today is that ability to have that dynamic playmaker under center. And man, that is going to be interesting to see what Tennessee does from here. They're kind of thinking ahead here, and I'm just not thinking tonight. I'm thinking about what happens the rest of this year and going forward with Tennessee's program, which all credit to them, man. They've got a great thing going, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do from here.
Josh says, I'm glad I took Hendon Hooker plus 1,500 to win the Heisman when I did. He still has to overcome CJ, but he has a solid option right now. Great return on that investment. Yeah, that would be a great return. I think he'll launch himself into the discussion today, Will. 21 of 33, 85, 5 touchdowns. He did have the one overthrow when he was pressured, by the way. That was Alabama getting some pressure home with the front 4 there, that overthrow that led to the pick. But you can easily forget about that pick with everything else he did in that game. And then his rushing, another 14 carries for 56 yards. I think Hendon Hooker's got to be squarely in the Heisman discussion right now.
I don't think there's any question about that. When you go for 450 offense and 5-6 touchdowns and you beat Alabama, okay, we're number 3 this week. The AP kind of pops around a lot more than it used to, but you beat Alabama. This is like Johnny Manziel all over again. When you beat Alabama, you elevate yourself to another level. It's kind of like the extra sauce. You're putting up the numbers he puts up. You're already in the Heisman conversation to me. You're top 5 in the country. You're 6-0. You're doing all those things. You're already in the Heisman discussion. When you add in beating Alabama when they're undefeated and they're still at the top of the top right now, that's the extra bit that pushes you across the line there. So 100%, he is right there in the discussion. Who else is in the discussion right now? Obviously Bryce.
CJ Stroud. I think CJ Stroud at Ohio State. He's put up some monster numbers. Yeah.
When are they? Who's their big games the rest of the year?
There aren't any. That's the thing about them. They go to Penn State, but Michigan just ripped Penn State up today. It's hard to think that is going to be that's going to be a huge battle for them. They've got a bye today. I'll give you, let's see, next week they've got Iowa, who's got a good defense. They can't do anything on offense. I don't know, Will, that they're challenged until they get to the Michigan game at the end of the year. Here's what they got left. Iowa next week at home at Penn State, which is the big noon kickoff on Fox in a couple of weeks. At Northwestern, hosting Indiana, at Maryland, who unfortunately lost to Leah Tagovailoa today. He had to be carted off. And then they host Michigan. So, if that's not an undefeated team going to the Big Ten championship, and then that other half of the Big Ten is so bad, I don't know how Ohio State doesn't get in the college football playoff this year.
Yeah, for sure. And that goes kind of circles the conversation back to kind of just all the restructuring and realignment within college football right now. I know there's a ton of layers to it, and I'm certainly not the expert to it, but I personally am kind of excited about it for this exact kind of reason. There's just seems to be a few premier programs. There's a lot more levels to college football than the conferences currently dictate. And so I think that the restructuring and the realignment and the mega conferences and everything, again, I'm not the guy. I don't spend all my time analyzing the different dynamics and how the context of what the ramifications and after effects are for the rest of the universities and the colleges and everything as a whole. But as far as just kind of a level playing field for college football and being able to see who's the best, I think it's a good thing because for exactly what we're talking about, there are a couple teams who are at the top of the top outside of the SEC who really never get tested, and so they're going to get postseason and the Heisman conversation. Individual players get judged off of kind of different different standards here because the numbers they put up are just different. So I think it will be fun to see as the restructuring continues. And I would love to see kind of a couple super conferences emerge. And look, I'm all for the players getting paid now. It's a huge business, man. I mean, it's been a huge business. And I think it's been kind of a shame that, guys like Johnny Manziel, whatever. I mean, people have been getting paid forever. It's just about they were forced to do it under the table, whatever else. And I hate that. It's like, look, when it's a big business, the money is going to find its way to the sources ultimately, whether it's over the table, under the table, whatever it is. So I think it's a good thing that players are getting paid. I know it's not necessarily the best thing for egos and again, a lot of different contexts, but realignment and some of the things that are happening are kind of necessary to me. And so we'll see what happens. But back to the point, yeah, absolutely. Hooker's going to be front and center of the Heisman conversation. I mean, unbelievable performance tonight. He's an unbelievable player. He came to play. Tennessee, you could tell from the first snap, a couple things happened in the very first few plays of the game tonight that were kind of indicators of what was to come. Alabama got a flag the very first kickoff of the game. That was like, here we go again, and B, you could tell within the first couple plays that Tennessee came to play. I mean, they were here for it, and they were feeding off of the crowd and the energy and the opportunity, and they went and capitalized on it. They seemed to, that first drive to me, I was looking at the game and it was like, they want it more than us right now, and it's right now. We'll see what happens the rest of the game, but Tennessee wants this game more than Alabama right now. And you see what happened, and Hooker's leading the charge on that. So 100%, he should be right there in the thick of it.
By the way, as we continue the Culver's post-game show, Culver's Welcome to Delicious. Those great butter burgers and the chicken fingers, great for your tailgates for either high school or the college games. You can find them 119 Tattersall Park, just off 280, and also out near the Hoover Med and Stadium Trace. Culver's Welcome to Delicious. And Next Round Cocktails, drinknextround.com. The Rosé Sangria, the Salted Lime Margarita, all those at drinknextround.com. Don't forget to hit up the Next Round store. Use code Jim, Lance Brown, or Rockstar. Buy one, get the next one half off. People are campaigning for us to give some stuff away to, try to ease the pain right now. But we're not going to do that. Buy one, get one half off there at nextround.store. Make sure you've given us a thumbs up on YouTube and subscribe and set alerts if you have not already. Retweet us, give us a thumbs up on Twitter, share us on Facebook, and like us there and at Twitch. One play we haven't mentioned, a lot of people are talking about it over in the chat room, Will, was just that miscue special teams-wise. I'm going to have to go back and remember the score. But I think, if I remember right, it was 21-10. Alabama had gotten the 3 and out. The punt that McKinstry doesn't field, he's running up to it and gets very close to it. I know in that situation, I can't remember how much special teams. I don't know if you were on punt when you were playing at Alabama there. But, he's trying to Peter get his guys away. But he's also running up to the ball. And the player thought he touched it. And he tries to fall on it. Gives Tennessee the ball. They go up 28-10. In hindsight, there are a lot of big plays. Boy, that's a turnover right there, though. That's a massive play.
It's a huge one, and I did play punt return, and absolutely the Peter call. It's a difficult play because here's the thing, everybody's got a job, right? So you're focused on doing your job. If you're you're on the outside, you're guarding the gunner. You're trying. That's usually the guys that are the toughest in terms of getting in close proximity to the returner. But everybody on the field is doing something, and you're doing it until you hear Peter behind you, and then that's like the kind of the call signal that just all bets are off. You're out of there. You immediately turn.
You peel to the sideline, right? Is that it? Yeah.
You're peeling out. You're moving. You're just immediately. It's like kind of a bomb. You're just getting away from it. And so it's a tough play, but at the same time, once again, I go back. It's the unforced errors. I mean, you've got to know what's going on in that situation. It's tough to who knows what he saw or what he kind of digested or reacted to or what he was seeing on the field. But certainly, like we're saying, it goes back, unforced error. Peter, you got to get away from it. And you got to be, practicing those situations. You got to be ready for that, certainly on the road. And just once again, kind of an error. It's just like, man, that can't happen. And you saw Saban's reaction. It was pretty interesting to me to watch Saban throughout the game because, this stuff was mounting. I mean, every penalty, every bit of it, the timeouts, the delay of games, the holdings, the substitutions, the stuff is mounting, and it's just kind of watching Saban. And I wasn't surprised to see him keep his cool for the majority of it because I know inside he's absolutely just going berserk. But when you're on the road and you're behind, you can't necessarily just throw the blow up button. You've got to be the kind of baseline there of composure and keeping the team together and keeping everybody going, all right, next play, moving to the next and kind of keeping your head on your shoulders and focusing on the next play there. But, you could see on that when it just finally got to him, it was like, what are we doing here? He kind of knew that's the kind of mistake that is really going to get us beat. You can kind of absorb some 5-yard penalties here and there, but man, making a mistake like that was hard to see. And to your point, very critical in the game.
Yeah. Former Bama defensive back Will Lowery with us. So this is an interesting question for you, Ben, as he looks ahead to that November 5th game when Tennessee goes to Georgia. They look like they'll be playing for the East now. I can't stress this enough. I think Georgia will make their offense look completely different. Kirby is smart enough to look at this tape and say, does it look like a 3-man rush is the way to win it? 2 things on that. Number one, you played for Kirby when you were at Alabama. He will digest a lot of what he saw in this game tonight, right? And say, he and Nick Saban have a lot of the similar philosophies, and this gives him an opportunity to say, okay, trash a lot of that. That didn't work.
Yeah. Here's the thing for me. Ever since 2009, every week that Alabama plays, they see numerous plays from the opposing offense that have never been played before. That they are throwing the kitchen sink. They get the kitchen sink every Saturday. I'm sure that played true tonight. I'm sure that'll play true when they play Georgia. So that's nothing new to me. Every offense has got plays that they say for Alabama every year. You know what I mean? Like that. So that's nothing new. And certainly, look, Kirby's a great coach. It was. I made the comment last year that before the national championship, actually, everybody thought that Alabama was going to get beat in the SEC championship, and I did think that they were going to win that game. I kind of, I thought everybody's counting us out. That never happens. It's not what everybody thinks. We're going to win that game. Of course we did. And then the national championship, I was a little more concerned, and but I did. I was like, I thought Alabama would win, but Kirby was going to get over the hump eventually. He's a great coach. He's a great competitor. And he's built a heck of a program in Georgia in a very short period of time. Now, I know he kind of had the building blocks in place more so than a lot of other places. It wasn't like Rick left that place in shambles by any stretch.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's done a great job of building up the beast that they are today. And so he's a great coach, man. He 100% learned from the best of the best and knows how to digest and adjust going forward. So 100% he's going to do that. But at the same time, we see that every week. And I go back to, Stetson Bennett is not the kind of quarterback that is going to, kind of, there's only, he's more limited than a Herm Hooker, So I'm more concerned about teams like that have that dynamic offensive ability than I am Stetson Bennett. I think that Georgia is more of a known quantity in what they are and who they are. And again, they're very comparable to Alabama. They lost a lot of pieces. They've been pushed this year. And to me, the biggest thing for Georgia this year is how much can Kirby kind of influence his program and his team and his players on, hey, guys, everybody wants to win the national championship and everybody can win the national championship. But how do you stay on top? How do you stay champion? That's the biggest challenge. And that's what Alabama, go back to the 2010 year after we won in 2009, the first one, the Saban regime. Probably one of the most talented teams we had at Alabama in the Saban era, but we lost 3 games because it takes you you get over that hump and it's like, oh, awesome, we made it, and then it's like, all right, how do you stay over the hump? That's a whole different ball game. And so Georgia, Kirby's been there. A lot of the guys on his staff have been there, but the players haven't, so we'll see. They've been tested this year already. They've been taken down to the wire already like Alabama has. We'll see if they can kind of sustain for the rest of the year and sustain through the national championship. But to me, they're more of a known quantity than some of the others out there.
Yeah, the other factor is that game's in Athens. I mean, it is different running that system, as when you're battling the crowd noise and the elements and all those things on the road. I will be fascinated to see how the system we saw tonight that worked so well, like you said, Will. I mean, how many yards they had against Alabama tonight. That system, I will be fascinated to see how well it works on the road in Athens. Not saying it will not. I'm just saying, to me, that's a fascinating storyline, is seeing them taking that on the road in a place like Athens, Georgia, and potentially winning the East.
Well, and certainly when you take into account the hurry up component of it, and how critical it is to be timely with your execution and your communication to pull that off. Doing that on the road, and Kirby's going to be very vocal about that to try and get that message out to whoever's running the PA systems and to the crowd and whoever's dictating the energy in the stadium to know what that dynamic is and kind of how the time of all that. So it'll be interesting to see them try and run that hurry up on the road. Of course they've got ways to do it, ways to go about it on the road, but it's interesting today's day and age, and it kind of goes back to the players and things now. That it seems like people are just affected more in general, and that's not just a football thing. It's just the whole world just kind of, so to your point, it's going to be really interesting. I mean, with being on the road and being in Athens, it's going to be a fun ball game. And man, I don't know. This is the best part of college football to me. This is when it gets fun. We're getting in the thick of the year here. The games are coming down to the wire. Even though Alabama's lost, again, with the playoff structure we've got, they've still got everything in front of them. This was probably the best thing for them because they've come down to the wire a few times and been able to kind of get by the skin of their teeth. And we're still there. We're still undefeated. We're still Alabama, this and that. But now they got beat, so it's like, all right, you've been exposed. So what you got? Where are you going to shore up? What are you going to do? Can you do it? How much time do you got? Can you get there?
What will be interesting, that game's the same day as Bama LSU. When you played at Alabama, you could lock in Bama LSU for the CBS game, the CBS primetime game. Zeroed out, they'll have Georgia Tennessee. That'll be the biggest game in the nation that week. So same day Bama plays LSU in Baton Rouge, Georgia and Tennessee will be playing for the East.
That's exciting. That's funny to think about. I was talking about rivalry games earlier this week with someone else, and Alabama-Tennessee, like we were talking about earlier, hasn't been what it used to be, and I'm excited thinking about the future, how big this game is going to be again. It just all of a sudden went from like this dominant run of like Alabama is going to win by 3 touchdowns every week to now it's like, man, Tennessee's got the pieces here. This could be a dogfight for years to come. And LSU was that game for us. When I was at Alabama and playing, LSU kind of became that rival. Now Georgia's kind of the unofficial new rival of kind of dictating where the SEC and national championships are going to land. But man, that is going to be a huge game, like you say, when those two teams meet. And it's just fun to watch kind of the shifting of power with these teams as they go. And to me, like I said earlier, so much of it is dictated by the quarterback position, which is so interesting to me. And then you go back to the NFL this past week and all the energy and attention that's gotten on the roughing the passer penalties and everything, because these guys know it. The guys in charge of the business know it. They know that the quarterback position is what all this stuff revolves around. So they're doing anything they can to protect them at the NFL to keep that brand going. That Thursday night game this past week, oh my goodness, it was horrendous. The Bears, and I forget who it was. The
Commanders, Bears and Commanders, yeah.
Man, I didn't even hardly get to watch it because my kids, and I didn't miss a lick,
Nope, you did not. You did not.
Unfortunately, and again, it just kind of comes back to the quarterback. So Tennessee's great right now, but we'll see what happens. And you got to keep, they got to get the recruiting. They got to get the next guy in under center that can keep that thing going, because that just seems to be what everything hinges on. Texas and Texas A&M, both of those games that Alabama played, if they play a Herndon Hooker under quarterback for either of those teams, they get beat both of those games too.
Ball's on Rocky Top. Nothing but the oranges there. Congrats to him. It's a good win for his team. I've tried to take the L as much as I can. I said Josh Heupel was a bad hire. The guy has obviously turned that program around very quickly. So all I could say is I was wrong on that one again. I don't know how many times I can say that, but I'll continue to say it because I was wrong on that one. I'm trying to find some good comments here, Will. We're about to wrap this thing up. I know we've kept you a long time.
Sort through some mess on the internet.
Yeah, I know. Jimmy says Tennessee will get run off the field in Athens. I don't know. We'll see. It's the same day. Let's see what else we have here. A lot of people are asking about Alabama and Tennessee matching back up in the SEC championship game. It's possible. I mean, they're going to have to beat Georgia in Athens. Georgia's just not going to lose twice. I mean, you're not going to be able to absorb that loss and Georgia lose twice. You look at the rest of that Georgia schedule. They do play Mississippi State, who can be a tough game for them maybe. But without Tennessee winning in Athens, I don't see any path for Tennessee to get to Atlanta.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, Georgia's kind of gotten to that bar too now where they kind of have that pass like Alabama does. You can slip up a little bit and you're still going to get the benefit of the doubt because of what you've built up in the program, what you've done in the past, and the other players you've got. So it's going to be interesting to see. But certainly, man, it's just a whole new wrinkle in the SEC now with Tennessee being in the factor here. Like you're saying, LSU's been there. We've had Auburn kind of flare up here and there over the years and a few years, but really it's been Alabama, LSU, Georgia, and Florida for the most part,
Yep.
last 15 years. Now, all of a sudden, you really got Tennessee coming into the play here. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens and kind of how these games play out, because there's so many different ways for things to flush out now with the playoff and the SEC the way it is.
Hey, real quick, Mississippi State next week with that air raid. They're playing Kentucky right now as we do this. That's a long, physical, draining game. I mean, that's the thing about playing SEC football, Will, is they gotta get back, put this behind them, and get ready for another offense that likes to throw it all over the field and can be a difficult system at times to stop. Though Alabama has actually had very good success against Mike Leach's air raid.
Yeah, 100%. Man, Mike Leach is a national treasure. I mean, that guy, every clip I see of that guy cracks me up. And I love having personalities like that in the SEC. I mean, you got him, you got Kiffin, who's his own brand. I mean, it's hilarious. You got Harsin right now, which, man, the post-game kind of moral victories that he's able to somehow come across. And I don't watch his interviews, but the sound bites and the headlines that people, the one sentences that they pull out of, we've done a lot of good things in the past few weeks. I think I saw pulled out tonight, again, probably taken totally out of context, but cracks me up that, he continues to find ways to see the silver lining in the tough year that they're having. But man, like you're saying, the SEC is just so tough. Kirby said it last week or whenever they went down the wire with Missouri. You can't take anybody for granted, and certainly not these days, because there are a lot of good teams out there. Kentucky's a really good team. Mississippi State's a really good team. Ole Miss is really good. Tennessee, there's just a lot of good teams out there right now, and a lot of good players, and a lot of good coaches that are making the rounds as well. And so you got to be ready. And it's always been that way to some degree, but certainly now so more than ever. It seems like any given Saturday, you can get beat. There's just a lot of dynamic ability out there. Players are changing teams more frequently. It's like Toto, him coming out. You can see, and then Drew Sanders last week. You see a lot of guys playing back against the teams that left and stuff like that. So 100%, man. I mean, we gotta get ready to go. We'll see what happens in their game tonight, but it ain't like we just got a breather here. I mean, and there's no time to lose. They got to wake up tomorrow and start figuring it out, or this year could get even uglier.
All right, Culver's has brought you this show tonight. Culver's, welcome to Delicious. Try those butter burgers. The great chicken fingers, great for tailgating, proud of the high school games, the college games, great for the parties as you watch the college games at your house. Highway 119, 280 in Tattersall Park. Also right out by the Hoover Met and Stadium Trace, just off 459. Also thinking of Next Round Cocktails. DrinkNextRound.com to find out more about them. DrinkNextRound.com, the Rosé Sangria, Salted Lime Margarita, all there with Next Round Cocktails. DrinkNextRound.com. Don't forget to hit the store this weekend. Code Jim, Lance, Brown, or Rockstar gives you buy one, get one half off. Buy one, get one 50% off there at NextRound.store. He is Will Lowery. Will, we appreciate the time, man. Very kind of you after a stressful, draining game to spend an hour with us, just kind of breaking down what you saw.
I needed the unwind anyway, so I enjoyed it, Ryan. That was fun to watch, bittersweet ending, but man, really exciting game. And like I say, man, this is college football. This is the thick of the fall here. It's going to be interesting to see what happens the next few weeks. So really appreciate you having me on. I enjoyed it.
Yep, thank you. We appreciate y'all joining us. We'll see you Monday at 9 o'clock on the Next Round right here where you're watching this. Thank you for joining us tonight for the Culver's postgame.